Hey there, y'all. It's Miss Campbell, and today we are going to go through properties of parallelograms. So there's certain things that you will be able to tell about a shape if they tell you that that shape is a parallelogram. So let's first start off with the definition. Okay, so a parallelogram is a polygon with four sides, so it's a quadrilateral, and both sets of opposite sides are going to be parallel. So the top side and the bottom side will be parallel, and so will the left side and the right side. So your top side will be parallel here. To the bottom, and then your left will be parallel to your right. Okay, and that's true for all parallelograms. So all right, so let's start with some definitions. So it says opposite sides, okay, are sides that are across from each other on a shape. So here is our parallelogram, okay, a rectangle is a parallelogram, okay. Here, this side on the top and the side on the bottom, those are opposite sides. So your top and bottom are opposite, your left and right are opposite. Next, we have opposite angles. So again, we have our parallelogram, and this can apply to different polygons too, but they're angles that are diagonal from each other. So this angle right here and its diagonal one up there, those are opposite angles. Okay, consecutive sides are sides that meet at a corner on a polygon. So here's our polygon, and this side right here and this side right here, those would be consecutive sides because they're meeting at that corner. So it's like one right after the other. That's what consecutive means. So they're sharing a corner. Now consecutive angles, okay, we have our quadrilateral here. Consecutive angles would be two angles that share a side. So this angle here and this angle right here, those would be consecutive angles because they're sharing this one side together. So those are consecutive angles. And then remember, supplementary means two angles that add up to 180. Congruent means two things are going to be the same size. Parallel means two lines that run next to each other and they don't cross. And remember, the symbol for parallel is those arrows. And then bisect is to cut in half. So let's see here, we have our diagonal, okay? It could be cut into two equal pieces, and you would know that because we can see these parts are marked congruent. So bisect is being cut in half. So bisect is cut in half. All right, next one. Okay, so these are theorems and things that you will know are true if they tell you that the shape is a parallelogram. So if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its pairs of opposite sides are congruent. So they have to tell us that we have a parallelogram, okay? Then we'll know that the opposite sides are going to be congruent. So the top would be congruent to the bottom, and the left would be congruent to the right, okay? And again, top is congruent to the bottom, left congruent to the right. So for example, if this is 10 on top, the bottom is also 10. If this is 15, this is also 15. And then you can also use those markings there. All right, the next thing that's true is that if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its consecutive angles are supplementary. So remember, supplementary means that they add up to 180, okay? So they're adding up to 180. And remember, consecutive angles are ones right next to each other. So they're sharing a side. So this angle right here and that angle right there would have to add up to 180. But guess what? Same thing would have to be true about these two. This one and this one, add to 180. This angle and this angle, add to 180. Okay, and same thing over here. These two angles have to add up to 180, and these two angles also have to add up to 180. So over here, let's say this is 110. Well, what does this have to be? Well, I know they're consecutive angles, so they have to add up to 180. So I do 180, take away 110, and it would be 70. So this one would have to be 70. Okay, and then that can also help you to find the other missing angles that we have there. All right, the next thing that is true is that if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, again, they're telling you that you have a parallelogram, okay? They're telling you they have a parallelogram, then its opposite angles are congruent. So the angles that are diagonal from each other would be the same. So here, these two would be the same, and then the other two on my other diagonal would be the same. So if this is 80, this one over here is also 80. So that would make this 100, because remember, the consecutive ones have to add up to 180, which would mean this one would also be 100. Okay, so then let's say they tell you, okay, you have a parallelogram. This one is 75. What is this angle over here? Well, it also has to be 75 because they have to be congruent, because it's a parallelogram. All right, and then it says if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its diagonals bisect each other. So one diagonal and the other one, they're going to cross in the middle. Okay, so here's this diagonal, and here's this diagonal. And you see this point in the middle? They're cutting each other into two equal pieces. So they're cutting each other in half. Okay, so this half and this half are equal. And then your other diagonal is cut into two equal pieces. So if you have a parallelogram, then you automatically know when you draw those diagonals, they're going to be equal pieces. So this can also look like this here. Let's say that this side is 12. Well, what do we know about the other half? It's also 12. If this one was 8, well, then this other side would also be 8. All right, so now for an example. They want us to find the measure of angle A, the measure of angle D, and then the length of side AB. So let's start with measures of angle A and D. Okay, they tell us angle B is 127. Okay, now I'm going to go with the easiest one to find, and that's going to be angle D, because angle D is the opposite angle. And what do I know about opposite angles? If I have a parallelogram, then they are going to be equal. Also a note, how do I know that this is a parallelogram? Well, look at the sides. The top and the bottom are parallel to each other because I see the arrows, right? And then the left and the right are parallel to each other. So both sets of sides are parallel, so it's a parallelogram. So I know that angle B is going to be congruent to angle D. So angle D is right away 127 degrees. Now angle A is going to be different, right? But what do I know about angle B and angle A? They're consecutive angles. They're sharing the side, so they have to add up to 180. So angle B plus angle A, they have to equal 180. And what do I know? I know that angle B is 127. So what do? I just do 180, and I take away 127. Okay. And so I find that angle A has to be 53. I'm sorry. Yeah, 53. Okay, and then now we need to find the length of side AB. Okay, well, y'all, now we're talking about sides. What do I know about the sides of parallelograms, and in particular, the opposite sides? Because we can see here, we have this side, CD, is given to us as 2x minus 3. And then we have side AB is given to us as x plus 2. Well, I know that AB is going to be equal to CD. So I set these two things equal to each other. So x plus 2 is equal to 2x minus 3. And so now I just solve. I'm going to take away x. Okay, and then I'm also going to add 3 because I want all my constants over here. So 2 and 3, that's 5. And 2x minus x is just x. So x is 5, right? But they didn't ask me for x. They asked me for the length of AB. So I have to plug in. So AB is x plus 2. So I do 5 plus 2. So AB is 7. Okay. All right. Next example. And they will tell you this. So we're going to assume that this is a parallelogram. Okay. They want us to find the value of x. All right. We see that we've been given the diagonals here. Okay. What do we know about our diagonals? They bisect each other. So this QS has been cut into 2 equal pieces. So 8 and the 2x are equal. So 8 is equal to 2x. So just divide by 2, and you find that x is 4. Okay, now check that out. Look here, 3x should be equal to 12, right? If I do 3 times 4, because we said x is 4, 3 times 4, is that 12? Yeah, so x is 4. All right, next example here. It says find the value of m and the measure of angle 1. So the value of m and the measure of angle 1. Well, what do I know here? I have an angle here that's 3m plus 20, and then another angle here that's 5m. These angles are on the same side. So I know that they need to add up to 180. So 3m plus 20, they're consecutive angles, plus 5m, and I know it has to equal 180. Okay, so 3m and 5m go together, so that's 8m plus 20 is equal to 180. Okay, take away 20 on both sides. So 8m is equal to 160. Okay, and divide by 8. So m is 20. Okay, so there's the value of m. And now we need to find the value of angle 1. There's 2 ways you can go about this, but I'm going to tell you the easiest one. What do I know about this angle up here, the 3m plus 20, and angle 1? Well, they ought to be congruent to each other because they are opposite angles and we have a parallelogram. So angle 1 is equal to that angle that's 3m plus 20. Okay, so we just plug in. Angle 1 equals, well, m was 20, so 3 times 20 plus 20. So angle 1 would be 80. And then right away, look, check. This down here, 5m, it should be equal to 100, right? And isn't 5 times 20 100? Well, there you go. Okay, next example. It says find the measures of angle 1 and angle 2. Okay, angle 1 and angle 2. Well, I see a triangle here, but I don't know, like, I only know one angle, so I really can't find these other angles here. But I'll give you a hint, okay? Remember, these lines up here on the top and the bottom, okay? And this is not the only way to go about this, okay? But this is a key thing you want to know. Okay, these lines on the top and bottom are parallel. So in this line going across the center, that's a transversal. So it's creating some angles that are congruent. Remember, we have alternate interior angles. So this angle here that's 50 is also going to be equal to this angle over here that is 1. So angle 1 50. Now we need to find the measure of angle 2. To do the measure of angle 2, we're going to have to think about our consecutive angles. Okay, so this 115, and then this other corner is made up of the 50 and angle 2, right? So 50 plus angle 2 plus the 115. If we add those two angles together, that should equal to 180 because these are consecutive angles, okay? They're consecutive angles. They're sharing the top side. So basically, I'm going to add the 50 and the 115. So 115 plus 50, we'll get 165. So angle 2 plus 165 is equal to 180. We'll just take away 165. So 180, take away 165. And you get the angle 2 is 15 degrees. So it's 15. And then you can even check here. Look, we've got a triangle, right? And again, like I said, the way that I showed you is not the only way to do this. We have a triangle here, don't we? We already figured out angle 1 was 50. Well, what do the three angles in a triangle add up to? 180. Do 180, take away the 115, take away the 50, and guess what? You're going to come out with 15. So there you go, guys. All right, last example. And this is kind of a more pre-AP example, but academic, it's still helpful for you to watch this because you are going to run into some problems with systems of equations. All right, so it says find the values of x and y. Okay, we've got, they're going to tell you this is a parallelogram. Okay, so we see our diagonals. Well, what do we know about our diagonals on parallelograms? They are bisected. So these two sections are equal to each other, and these other two sections are equal to each other. Okay, so right away, I know that x is equal to y plus 2. And then I also know that y plus 10 is equal to 2x minus 8. Okay, there's several ways, like a couple ways you can go about doing this, but I see right now, I already have one equation solved for x. So I'm going to do substitution, okay? I'm going to take this equation here, and in my second equation, wherever I see x, I'm going to plug in this y plus 2. So I've got y plus 10. Then I have 2, and now it's 2 times x, right? So instead of x, I'm putting y plus 2, because x is equal to that. We have minus 8. So now y plus 10 is equal to 2y plus 4 minus 8. So y plus 10 is equal to 2y minus 4. I'm going to add 4 on both sides. And I'm also going to move this y over here. So now those will cancel here. These will cancel. And I will get that 14, because 10 plus 4 is 14. And then 2y minus y is just y. So y is 14. And now I'm going to use the fact that I know that y is 14, and I'm going to plug in, I'm going to find x. So x equals, well, it's y plus 2, so y is 14 plus 2. So x is 16. All right, and there we go, guys. So that's all there is to it about the properties of quadrilaterals, so, or parallelograms, I'm sorry. So again, they have to tell you that you have a parallelogram. And if they tell you have a parallelogram, you know that all those little theorems that we went through are true. And then you can use that to solve your problems. See you guys in the next one.